We have some breaking news. A car has plowed into a German Christmas market and has killed at least one and injured dozens of people. They're saying the number is in the 50s, and this just happened when I started the broadcast. So I didn't want to get into it without some verified information coming out of it. Apparently, the number of dead is 2 now. Hopefully, they don't show the video, because I've seen it all over the timeline. The official number is now at least 2 dead, including a small child, and at least 50 injured. Earlier reports said at least 11 dead, up to 80 injured. Yeah. Earlier reports came from Breaking News and Breaking 9/11 or whatever the that wasn't.
When a car drove into a Christmas market in this city in eastern Germany, Magdeburg. Christmas markets in Germany are a festive, seasonal thing. Many people in the community will come. They'll buy Christmas gifts or eat food. Oftentimes in the evening, many people in the community are there, so it would have been a very crowded event. We're hearing.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people. My Polish friend told me about this as it broke. A lot of people online are essentially immediately calling for a race war. Yes. Germans are already very primed to be like, this is what happens when you have Islamic migration into Germany. The suspect who drove the vehicle apparently was a doctor from Saudi Arabia who's been in Germany since 2006. So, all of the Germans are predictably, saying that this is a direct consequence of Muslim migration into the country, and we have to round up everyone and forcibly deport them, and that the AfD is vindicated.
Christmas markets in Germany are a festive, seasonal thing. Many people in the community will come. They'll buy Christmas gifts or eat food. Oftentimes in the evening, many people in the community are there, so it would have been a very crowded event. We're hearing authorities in the area saying that at least one person has been killed. 11, according to local media, though that has not been confirmed, and dozens potentially injured. Local hospitals have said that they're preparing for a mass casualty event.
Sam, as we watch some of the images that are coming in, obviously just a horrific story, something so tragic just happening days before Christmas. Can you break down from your expertise, what are some of the questions that you have about what happened and what are investigators doing right now?
Well, in the first instance, the underlying question is whether the suspect, perhaps the individual who's currently in custody, acted alone, or whether the suspect was in touch with others who may seek to implement similar attacks. So at this point, intelligence and law enforcement services are focused on ensuring that this was an isolated incident and that there's no ongoing threat to the public. At the same time, we understand that there may be a suspect in custody. So another key question is what this individual's motivation was. We know that there has been a heightened threat environment declared by authorities in Germany, throughout Europe, and throughout the United States, particularly post-October 7th, and developments when Hamas attacked Israel and Israel's incursion into Gaza. There's been a heightened threat environment related to those results. At the same time, we know that Germany has suffered vehicular attacks against Christmas markets in the past, including an Islamist terrorist attack in Berlin in 2016. All that said, we do not know the suspect's motivation at this time. And so I'm waiting to see, again, whether authorities declare if there is any ongoing threat to the public and if there's any indication of where this individual comes from and what the individual's motivation may be, Lindsay.
Samantha, any idea what a security footprint around a Christmas market might look like, considering that they have been targets before?
Unfortunately, security footprints around any mass gathering can really vary, Lindsay. Typically in large urban settings where there's a larger police presence, we do see a larger security posture that could include a completely enclosed area when it comes, for example, to barricades that can prevent all vehicular traffic from entering a mass gathering. In smaller jurisdictions, law enforcement just may not have those kinds of resources. Law enforcement encourages vigilance, encourages the public to stay aware, but whether or not there was full barricades around this market is really up to the local jurisdictions, the level of threat they foresee, and the resources they have on hand.
Sam, given the amount that could be injured, the deputy mayor saying 50, we heard Haley there say other media reporting as many as 60 to 80.
Crazy how people are defending this attack. What? How come nobody cares when they attack Christians? Crazy how people are defending this attack. If you can point to a single person that is defending a heinous attack like this, I will not ban you. You have 60 seconds to point to a chatter that wasn't immediately banned that is defending this attack. Why the would anybody defend this attack? Take your medication. Take your medication, dumbass. I like that so many people just like hallucinate at this point. Like, you know? All right. Well, I guess he doesn't have he was unable to figure it out. Here, take a week off.
I believe that's from the AFP news agency. What does that tell you about the nature of what authorities believe was a deliberate attack, just in terms of the crowd size that vehicle was able to plow through?
Well, it tells me that this was a very densely packed area. So while we don't know the exact size of the actual gathering, it does look like, unsurprisingly, it was a very dense environment, which is quite common at a Christmas market. These mass gatherings don't have to be spread out over a large geographic space. It's a density of people that could be vulnerable to something like a vehicular attack. But if the death count does continue to rise, it will be the deadliest vehicular attack on a Christmas market in Germany, Lindsay.
And these are images that I am seeing for the first time along with you. Haley, it's just so tragic to see police lights and ambulance lights in the foreground with Christmas lights in the background. Haley, as this is still such a fast developing situation and we're working to gather more information, what questions are you asking?
I think that a lot of people who are watching this situation are thinking of the attack that happened in 2016 when a truck drove into a Christmas market in Berlin. 13 were killed in that attack. Dozens were injured. And it really challenged the sense of security that a lot of Germans had around those Christmas markets, and frankly, around a lot of Europeans had around mass gatherings. And I think this has probably reignited that feeling in a lot of people, gathering to celebrate the holidays, gathering to be in crowds together around, certain events where people all congregate in a certain place. I think that challenges now people's sense of security doing those things. We're watching, obviously, this situation. Dozens have been injured. Hospitals.
No, the guy is taken alive.
Since it was a doctor from.
Are we just going to pretend the Elon tweet isn't a part of the story, or the fact that we are 2 months out from the German election? It's not a matter of pretending that Elon Musk tweet is not a part of the story. This happened after Elon had tweeted that. Elon was tweeting his support for AFD, saying AFD can only protect Germany, hours before this terror attack happened. Okay, so the idea that this is the idea that this is like somehow linked to Elon Musk is silly. Elon Musk is a Nazi. Elon Musk is a fascist. The AFD are neo-Nazi fascists. But while this certainly will drum up more support for the AFD and mass deportations for anyone that is suspected of being Muslim in Germany, the person's motivations are at this point unknown, and his background has been revealed. He was a doctor from Saudi Arabia, they say, who's been in Germany since 2006. Saxony-Anhalt State Premier Rainer Haseloff says that the attack on the Christmas market in Magdeburg is, at the moment, a crime committed by one person.
It was a doctor from Saudi Arabia who's been in.
Hasan, I can't even string together a thought, let alone orchestrate some kind of clandestine conspiracy. What? Oh, you mean Elon Musk? Or are you talking about me?
Germany since 2006 in Sachsen-Anhalt. At the moment, it's been a crime committed by one person, and there is no further danger to be.
What evidence is there that Elon Musk is a Nazi? Thank you for this question. Elon Musk purchased Twitter and then reinstated the accounts of prominent neo-Nazis. Elon Musk follows prominent neo-Nazis. Elon Musk routinely replies to prominent neo-Nazis and highlights their neo-Nazi rhetoric. Elon Musk has subscribed to anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish conspiracies, such as Jews are actually doing mass great replacement in the Western world. Elon Musk is also in favor of the AfD. The AfD is the neo-Nazi movement in Germany. Elon Musk routinely retweets and quote retweets prominent neo-Nazis on Twitter. So, you know, at this point, the only thing he hasn't done is grow a Hitler mustache and Sig Heil. So that's pretty much it. But don't worry, he's pro-Israel. So I guess he's not a neo-Nazi after all.
We waited, and in the morning we can double check and re-evaluate the situation, and accordingly we can then discuss necessary measures and also evaluate the
AfD is not 100% neo-Nazi, okay? Yes, they are. And no amount of cover-up is going to change that reality. Don't know why people choose to defend the AfD. They very clearly are. Unless you are joking and you mean they're 99.9% neo-Nazi.
The severity of the attack together with the prosecutor. So
what? Correlation is not causation. That's a logical flaw.
The injured will be taken.
What are you saying? Correlation does not equal causation. What did I do here that was even? Did I look at any sort of correlation and imply causation? No. I think you just heard, just like many debate perverts, you just wanted to slam on a logical fallacy that doesn't actually work in this situation. Straw man.
Taken care of medically, and we will use all in our power to take care of them, and also, of course, family members of those injured are in shock. They're all having to digest this trouble, this terrible tragedy.
Holiday chat is so weird. Yeah.
Are preparing to potentially care.
Just going to post this here again. Yeah, remember this?
It's Bjorn.
Remember this, chat? Why an AfD politician is accused of whitewashing Nazi crimes.
It's Bjorn Hooker, who is widely regarded as the AfD's most influential figure.
Bjorn Hooker is...
It's so funny because then they'll turn around and be like, well, what about Pegida? They're worse. They're worse than these guys or whatever. And it's like, yeah, dude, there's always going to be more aggressive versions of the more normalized version of neo-Nazi movements. It's just like it doesn't really change the dynamic at all.
Extraordinary within the AfD because he is really a quite old-fashioned right-wing extremist. He's not just a radical, he's not just opposed to immigration, he is really one who favors rewriting German history.
Wir Deutschen, also unser Volk, sind das einzige Volk der Welt.
We Germans are people to have planted a memorial in shame in the heart of its capital.
Hooker is a former history teacher who for years has been pushing the boundaries of political speech. In 2017, he criticized Berlin's Holocaust.
Does the AfD have a lot of support, or are they fringe? If you were to ask me this question 4 years ago, I would say they're fringe. Okay, now they are no longer fringe.
Holocaust Memorial, arguing that Germany should reverse the way it remembered its past.
We need nothing less than a 180-degree turnaround in the politics of remembrance. In the politics of remembrance, like they're talking about the Holocaust, they're talking about World War II.
He talked about the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin as a sign of shame in the heart of the nation. He's obsessed with history.
Kai Arzheimer, a political extremism expert, has studied Hooker's rhetoric about German history.
He is engaged in whitewashing what the Nazis did, basically. Remembrance culture is the idea that the crimes of the Nazis must never be forgotten and that we should educate future generations in the knowledge that Germany in the past has committed those atrocities to safeguard our future. Basically, that's the idea. What Hooker wants is this 100-degree reversal.
I mean, this is like the one aesthetic thing that is holding Germany's fascist past together. So once this falls, it's over, okay? Germany still has very strict controls over, very strict regulation over denying the Holocaust and like openly flying the banner of Nazi regimes and flying the swastika. They have a lot of strict rules around that sort of thing. But basically, the moment that they just reverse all of that, it's over. They will openly champion this stuff once again. Okay? Basically, this is the one thing, like the remaining, the thing that stops the dam from breaking in its entirety, openly breaking, is that they still are like ashamed of the Holocaust. Once they drop that, it's over. It's just like we're back to business as usual.
Statements about the Holocaust Memorial were widely criticised, including by some members of his own party, amid calls for him to be expelled.
And for the record, for Americans that don't understand, like, German patriotism in liberal German society is regarded as like a shameful thing. Any sort of like patriotism outside of FIFA, the World Cup or whatever, is under normal German existence, at least for the past couple of decades, was seen as like a form of bigotry. Okay. Now, this doesn't change the reality that like modern Germany has done a whole bunch of awful things as well. Okay. But they have a very different understanding of patriotism and nationalism in general. They are understandably fearful of nationalism, at least aesthetically, and have very strict rules around demonstrating that sort of thing. As far as I understand, even in like liberal German society, polite German society, like flying the German flag is seen as like an odd thing, or used to be seen as an odd thing. And that obviously you can't fly the Nazi banner, which is why the AfD, I believe, used to use the older Imperial German flag as a substitute. That's why there's a lot of dog whistles. AfD is also, I guess, technically a dog whistle. A chatter was calling it a bullhorn, but it's the alternative for Deutschland, or some people call it alles für Deutschland, like all for Germany for Germany, all Germans for Germany. German patriotism comes only during the World Cup and next UEFA Euro Cup.
From the AfD, he stated that he had made a mistake and that he had learned many lessons, but he continued to court controversy. In 2021, Hooker gave a speech which included a slogan used by the Nazis: "Everything for Germany."
Alles für unsere Heimat, alles für Sachsen-Anhalt, alles.
Germany for Germans, everything for Germany. Like, using Nazi sloganeering like this is not only something that, again, liberal, polite German society does not look fondly at, but it is directly illegal, usually.
Für Deutschland.
Under German law, the phrase is illegal, and Hooker was charged with knowingly using a Nazi slogan. He later called the Nazi era horrific, but claimed he wasn't aware of the slogan's history.
Come on, dog. He's a literal history teacher. Get the out of here.
Strafkammer des Landes Sachsen-Anhalt. weil ich mal einen Wahlkampfabschluss
Then he did it again.
alles für unsere Heimat, alles für Sachsen-Anhalt, alles für...
He went to Gera in front of a public audience and he made everybody scream, all for Germany, after he already knew that he was on criminal charges for this. Look, any misunderstandings? Oh, he didn't know what that means? Let me remind you, he's a history teacher, a certified history teacher.
Yeah,
And
I think he knew what it meant.
Damned well what this phrase means.
You've been charged with issuing a Nazi comment, everything for Germany. You've been charged with a criminal offence because that's a crime.
Sie haben völlig recht.
It's a Nazi saying.
Sie haben völlig recht, dass die Meinungsfreiheit in Deutschland sehr, sehr stark eingeschränkt ist. Wenn ich in einer Rede, in einer Wahlkampfrede, die Liebe zu meinem Land ausdrücke und in der bedrohten Lage, in der Deutschland ist, Patrioten auffordere, alles für dieses Land zu geben, dann ist das kein Nazispruch. Trump hat mal gesagt, American first.
Which is also, ironically, the American Nazi movement's original slogan. So, yeah, that's not exactly a good defense. Donald Trump also said immigrants are poisoning the blood of this nation. Also another Hitlerian invocation. I mean, what are we doing here, you know? Yeah, look at this other Nazi. Look at this other neo-Nazi, you know? He's saying it too. Why can't I say it?
Ich denke, dass es völlig legal ist und völlig legitim ist, selbiges auch für
AfD guys are the only people that are even more annoying than the anti-Deutsche left and right here is despise Germany's politics. Yeah, it's really bad. German politics is so fundamentally broken, and I think it's because it was the wounds caused in German society and the crimes that German society were complicit in was left unaddressed, especially in Western Germany as well. And that America basically came back and was like, let's just put all the Hitlerian guys in charge because they are the best communist killers. And basically, it feels like it always has felt like they just didn't really learn the right lessons from the Holocaust. Like there's a deep sense of psychological shame, but also not only is there like this deep sense of psychological shame, but they've left it unaddressed in very meaningful ways. They haven't really changed course. They just basically covered it with a blanket. So that nascent fascist movement was always slated to come back inevitably. And when you have decades of center-right politics dominating the country with virtually no real leftist opposition,
well, were there any types of clues in that? Everything from the
you
location
inevitably
of where
arrive
this
at this
happened,
problem.
the date, the time, the particular festival.
Add to that economic volatility, add to that diminishing material conditions in East Germany as well. Okay. Once the wall came down, USSR is gone. And you know, their ongoing reconstruction efforts have been an overt failure, which will inevitably cause fascists to take advantage of that chaos.
Representatives' vote is expected.
All right, well, that's it. We missed it. We missed CNN talking
für Deutschland zu fordern. Und Ähnliches habe ich getan. Das hat nichts mit einem Verbrechen oder einer Straftat zu tun.
Shortly after our interview, Hooker was found guilty and fined more than $30,000.
Think harder. You know why this is happening? What? We did try to ask you. What? Meanwhile, let's get to the meat of the issue. You support a Nazi and the Wire will show that. I'm using this at you statement. We did try to ask you. Think harder. 48-month subscriber. That's crazy. That's a new one. That's a very long-term community member kind of collapsing in real time.
The German spy chief has
instead of inside, here, we'll watch this as well. Here.
Told the BBC that the far-right Alternative for Deutschland party poses a risk to the roots of democracy. The AfD regularly rejects accusations of extremism, but the BBC has found clear links between significant party figures and extremists or even former neo-Nazi networks by investigating just one event held in the East German city of Cottbus. Our Berlin correspondent Jessica Parker has this report.
In Germany's East, the far-right alternative for Deutschland.
Yeah, the funniest was this when they tried to plot a coup to put forth Heinrich the 13th from an old aristocratic family to assume the role of the German monarch. Like, that was kind of funny. That was very stupid and kind of funny. What's still stupid but not funny and very scary was also the fact that Germany had to destroy one entire military unit because every single person in the unit was a Nazi. Like, that shit was crazy. That was not funny. That was actually pretty scary when they were just like, oh my God, an entire unit is just they're all Nazis.
Deutschland is popular, even aiming for power.
Yeah, Army Special Forces were straight up Nazis.
And Jean-Pascal Homme is a regional parliamentary candidate.
The AFD is proactive on social media, but also on the ground, and it feeds this idea they want to promote, that they are of the people and taking on the establishment.
But, as the BBC has found, Jean-Pascal Homme's held links with several groups now classed by domestic intelligence as extremist, networks accused of anti-migrant, anti-Muslim.
Also, another one of my favorite, like, funniest German Nazi moments is that one of the prominent leaders of the anti-COVID lockdown movements in Germany was a vegan Turkish neo-Nazi. What the f was that guy's name? That was really funny. He was like one of the biggest like Q defenders. Yeah, and he was literally Attila Hildmann. Attila Hildmann, ja. Jawohl. Yeah. It's Turkish, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like, what the f do you think is happening? Like, what? Yeah. Attila Klaus Peter Hildmann is a German vegan cookbook author and far-right conspiracy theorist. He wrote his first cookbook in 2009, and his book, Vegan for Fun, was named Cookbook of the Year by Vegetarier-Bund Deutschland in 2012. He subsequently featured in numerous television programs and talk shows. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Hildmann emerged as a disseminator of the conspiracy ideologies surrounding the virus. He has described himself as ultra-right-wing and as a German nationalist. He has been repeatedly characterized as anti-Semitic and has been on the run since 2024 when German prosecutors issued a European warrant for his arrest. Attila was born in West Berlin and is of Turkish descent but was raised by German adoptive parents. It's so funny to be a German Nazi as a dude of Turkish descent and then having to fly to Turkey. He's like, I hate these Muslim. I hate the Islamo-fascism. And then you have to go to Turkey. And then you have to fly to Turkey and be around all these immigrants. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ideology.
All these organizations focus on one subject, the theme of our times. It is the population replacement going on in Germany and in Europe. To voice that and to fight that politically is not extremist.
You don't think the Great Replacement theory is extremist? I mean, it's a far-right conspiracy theory.
No, the Great Replacement is happening. I can see that in my own city. I do not say it is...
Elon must be like, you have said the truth. You have said the absolute truth, my good sir.
Organized from up high, I say it's happening.
It was at this office back in March that Jean-Pascal Homme helped organise an event. The speaker was an MP called Matthias Helfferich, who once described himself as the friendly face of National Socialism, also known as Nazism.
Matthias Helfferich insists the years-old leaked messages were satire. His talk here in Cottbus was on remigration, a code word, say many, for mass deportation.
Yeah. Remember how Germans are like, oh, we don't say deportation. That's like Nazi policy. We believe in remigration. which is just deportation. They just repackaged it. So it's so funny to watch them like try to dance around the liberal safeguards that have been placed on language, while still absolutely unconditionally channeling the same policy agenda. They just had to like find new ways of saying the same thing.
Deportations.
Remigration ist die politische Vision einer vertrauten Heimat.
In this video, he talks about remigrating millions to preserve the land of the Germans.
Und aktivistischem Vorfeld.
In the audience in Cottbus that night was Benedikt Kaiser, another influential figure. He works for an AfD MP. But over a decade ago, Mr. Kaiser was pictured at neo-Nazi demos. We've approached him for comment.
Became more and more right-wing extremists.
This spy chief claims that extremism within the AfD poses a risk to democracy.
Spy chief? Wait, wasn't that the guy who was talking about the AfD earlier? What do you mean?
When I'm speaking about a German oak, a big, strong, old tree, it can take a blizzard, it can take a storm. But once you have an enemy that goes for the roots, and that's exactly what's happening right now, going for the roots of our democracy, it's very dangerous because it goes to the vital parts of our democracy.
The AfD says it's being smeared by a biased establishment. And as the country builds towards regional and EU elections, this isn't a fringe movement, but one trying to go mainstream. Jessica Parker, BBC News in Brandenburg.
Let's speak to Assistant Professor of Political Science at Boise State University, Julia Van Dusky. Julia, welcome to you. You've written about the rise of the AfD in Germany, haven't you? How far-reaching are its links with the far right, would you say?
So the German government has been investigating the AfD for quite a while because it is known that many of its members do have links to the far right. So it is far-reaching.
Now, the far right, the AfD rather, political party is gaining in popularity, isn't it, in Germany? What would you put that down to?
So the AfD originally formed as a response to the Eurozone crisis. There are a lot of Germans who do not support the EU, and they don't support Germany's.
Dude, Germans not supporting the EU is so funny. It's just like, dude, what are you talking about? That's you, man. What do you mean you don't support the EU? It's like Americans not supporting NATO. You know what I mean? Like if you're like one of these dumb like hog patriot Americans and you're like, I hate NATO. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's everything that you wanted and more. It's the same as like hog Germans who are being like hating the EU. It's like, you are the EU. What do you mean? You don't support NATO? Yeah, because I don't support American imperialism. If you support American empire but hate NATO, that makes no sense. If you support Germany being a dominant force on the planet, but then also simultaneously say the EU is bad, that makes no sense. I'm anti-NATO because I'm anti-American empire. How is this hard to comprehend? If you're pro-American empire, of course you should be pro-NATO. Why would you be anti-NATO?
Role in the EU, and so now there's a party that represents their interests. They're more popular in East Germany amongst older people who had been socialized under a completely different political system. They lived under communism and an authoritarian regime. So politically, they're a little bit different than West Germans, so it's not surprising that the AfD is a little bit more popular there.
And what do you think it means for the future?
Yeah, that's why it's more popular there. It's not like the wealth disparity. It has nothing to do with the wealth disparity and everything to do with the fact that they lived under a communist dictatorship, authoritarian rule. That's why. They're just primed. They're just like genetically more open-minded to that sort of thing. Like if you're an academic, if you are an academic who literally has browsed through countless amounts of historical reference points and data, and this is what you present, what are we doing? Like, what a ridiculous approach. Yeah, no wonder we never arrive at the truth.
Democracy of Germany, or would that be alarmist to even go there?
Currently, I don't think the AfD is going anywhere. However, I don't think they're big enough currently to ever form a government in Germany. They're still quite small. And the other parties, the mainstream parties, are unlikely to form a government with them. So in the short term, they can make a lot of noise. They have a platform in parliament, but I don't think they're going to have a lot of influence over policymaking.
Okay, Professor Julie Van Dusky, thank you very much for joining us with your analysis.
Thank you.
I know it's needless to say, but dear God, stay away from Twitter right now. What's your reason for why so many Eastern European countries became so reactionary and anti-communist after the fall of the Soviet Union? Like, you have East Germany and the mess it's in. Poland also, the leader during the USSR collapse was a staunch anti-communist trade union guy. And Poland is super anti-migrant today. Most Eastern European countries are in NATO now, etc., etc. I don't know. They took the L. And the economic instability caused by the complete collapse of the USSR probably, created the same fantastic opportunity for reactionary sentiment to thrive. Nazis lose after World War II. America still props them up. Okay, all around Western Europe. Communists lose. Socialism completely loses and is destroyed after the Cold War ends and the USSR dissolves. And then that vindicates Nazis even further. That vindicates Nazis that were still very much in existence in many of these places. That vindicates them even further. They end up, becoming recipients of shock therapy. And here we are. Win or lose, these guys are always on top. You shouldn't ever speak about Eastern Europe, bro. Oh, you're right. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't have the high IQ to understand Eastern Europe. It's actually some other reason. Yes. I think you should be more embarrassed to say stuff like that. So why do you think Eastern Europe is so reactionary? Go ahead. Enlighten us, Eastern European chatter. Left movement in East Europe is mostly post-USSR. Okay, continue. Are you saying that there is no left movement under the USSR? Is that what it is? I'm not. I'm confused. My infantile mind cannot comprehend. They hate communism the most because they had to live through it. True. That's right. They know what real communism was like. That's why they hate it. Why do Americans hate it so much? Have they also lived through real communism? Is that why Americans hate it so much, you think? So much that they still think it's very much alive and well? Real communism in America is alive right now. That's why they suffer so much. Americans do. Because of the real communism that they live under. Maybe at a certain point we need to stop, entertaining this stupidity, entertaining this notion that communism is all around, real communism. I do think that the failures of governance from the USSR factored into the anti-communist, anti-socialist nature of Eastern Europe. That part I do agree. That part I do believe. I think that is an inception point, but I think that the other things that I mentioned still remain. The other issues that I mentioned still remain very much so at the forefront of why so many of these countries became reactionary. But hey, Eastern European asses, they're still hating from a 90% home ownership rate. You know what I mean? Like, they'll be like, oh man, I hate this socialism nonsense from my apartment that I own. Dude, I hate that. Here, let me get on a working public transit system real quick to go hate more efficiently at the public square in the third spaces that were built.